everyone, and welcome to Sports Break, the podcast. I am so excited to have Rebecca Sowden on today, a former New Zealand footballer, founder of Team Heroine, doing some awesome stuff in the world of sports and gender equity. So, Rebecca, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so much to chat about and exciting stuff. I guess, real quick, just give folks a little bit of what Team Heroine is and how you guys are really changing the landscape for sports.
Yeah, sure. So I've always kind of been a passionate sports marketer and in the sponsorship space and media and entertainment. And it was watching the Women's World Cup nearly 4 years ago now in France when, a billion people were watching this. And it was just, a new era of football and getting all the attention it deserved. And I was just like, hang on a minute. Why are there not more brands realizing and unleashing this opportunity around women's football, women's sport? And those that were kind of, I felt, doing a little bit of a copy and paste job of their men's sports sponsorship instead of really leveraging the unique differences and nuances of women's football. So Team Heroine, and really it's been just studying and advocating best in class women's sports sponsorship and marketing. And so, yeah, in the last 2 years, I've really felt like we all have with kind of the women's sports boom and really take off. So, a lot more following, a lot more interest in the women's sports sponsorship and marketing space. And so I work with be it sponsors and brands, rights holders, agencies, all sorts really to help them unlock that value and, yeah, really get the most out of their activations and their campaigns. So one of the exciting things I've worked on was with Xero, which is proudly a New Zealand started company down here in Aotearoa, as we call it. And they've now become a FIFA Women's World Cup sponsor, along with the Lionesses, the New Zealand Football Ferns here, an amazing club in London called Lewis FC. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. They're the only club in the world to invest equally in their men's and women's teams. So helping Xero, really understand the landscape, what the opportunity was, and get behind these great events. Also helping the likes of Visa Europe with their women's football strategy, which for me, is the ultimate really, because they've been there from the beginning. They were first, 5 years ago to get on board with UEFA when they unbundled the first men's and women's rights and really shown a massive commitment to women's sport. And, thanks to the likes of Kate Johnson, who's now at Google, who left that legacy with Visa. So, but yeah, it's been an exciting time down here in New Zealand, because obviously with the build up of the Women's World Cup starting to happen. So working with the likes of councils and media down here just to, unlock that opportunity. So a nice range of projects and activities. And I think that's the great thing about the space right now is it's evolving and developing so quickly. You don't really know who you're going to get a call from the next day or what opportunities might arise. And yeah, something I love is that dynamic nature. And yeah, should I jump into Correct the Internet, which has been one of the latest projects I've been heading up and probably one of the more exciting ones in terms of the international attention and interest it's been getting, but also the change we're trying to create. But if you're not familiar with it, hopefully everyone's seen our powerful and emotive video that's been doing the rounds on social media and PR everywhere. But essentially, if you were to search online, who scored the most goals in international football, the internet would tell you it's Ronaldo, when in fact it's Canadian women's footballer Christine Sinclair. And this isn't just, a one-off unfortunate mistake that happens on the internet. This is right across codes, across the board. So, if you were to search which team has won the most Rugby World Cups, it would actually say New Zealand's All Blacks, when actually it's the New Zealand women's team, the Black Ferns, with 6 titles. So you can see this gender bias that has been created over decades and decades of this kind of historic systems that have set men up to succeed in sport. And because of those historic structures that always saw men's, sport as a men's first lens, it's kind of created this bias throughout the whole of society, but even on the internet. So the campaign called Correct the Internet, you can head to correcttheinternet.com and learn more and watch that powerful video, which I need to add, it was directed by a female director. So maybe that's why it's so amazing and doing so well. But our aim with the campaign is to not only raise awareness about the inaccuracies that occur on the likes of the internet. So people do question it. And, you know, we're at the end of the day, we're hoping to increase the visibility of sportswomen and women's sport. But we also actually wanted to affect change and try and get some of these algorithms rectified. So we're giving sportswomen the recognition and the visibility they deserve. So created a really simple tool on the website, correctinternet.com, where people can go on, pick one of the 30 stats that we've identified, or better still, add one of your own, and we can all get the support you need to get that fixed. So if you find any in your passion sport, let us know. But you just follow a few easy steps, kind of pick one of the stats, say it's incorrect, and that will send feedback to their search engine. So we as people have created this bias in this issue, but the great thing is we as people can actually fix it. So get along, help correct, and let's use people power to give sportswomen the visibility they deserve.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I can't tell you how many times when I'm trying to create a sports calendar for the week of women's sports, where to watch them, how to watch them, and I test it every week. College basketball games, and every answer that comes back is geared toward the men's side of college basketball.
And that's where the idea came from. You know, it was a real genuine problem that we as a women's sports community were facing. You know, in Australia, they were having a similar story. The AFLW, which is the Women's Australian Football League finals, you go to type it in, it was the big grand final weekend, kept getting the men's results and scores. And yeah, it's just something we've all had issues with. So that's why we're trying to tackle it. And, you know, that discoverability is just such a massive part of sports. And if we can kind of get the right information to the right people, you know, that alone can just really change the landscape in terms of coverage and in terms of that visibility piece.
Absolutely. And such a smart way to tackle this issue. So, I mean, truly kudos to you. I know Billie Jean King has been super hype woman about it. And it is
totally pumped to see her. I woke up, she'd shared it a number of times on her social media. And, you know, for me, Billie Jean King, the ultimate kind of sport equity champion. And yeah, I woke up and I had a number of friends messages saying, oh my God, Billie Jean King's just shared your post. So yeah, personal highlight with that one. But it's really resonated across the board globally because I think it's just such a universal issue that we can all identify with. And we're like, oh, you know, knew it kind of existed, but when it's put in front of you in a confronting way, it's like, actually, this isn't right. So, you know, I think one, it's been a universal truth, and we've been fortunate enough to have an amazing director and production company produce that beautiful film as well. So really capturing the attention of people. And you know, this has all been on a budget of $0. So I think it just goes to show the power with, you know, a lot of women's sports, and the questions I get are like, oh, we don't have the budgets, marketing, and we think like that. But I think if you're really tackling a genuine problem that resonates and there's an insight behind it and can creatively bring that to life, you know, people want to share it, people want to get behind the cause. And that's what we've seen with this kind of movement and campaign. And, you know, to have the likes of Alex Morgan kind of commenting on the news on it, and, you know, Katie Sowers, the first woman to coach in the NFL Super Bowl, you know, all getting behind it, sharing it, from United Nations, the Lawn Tennis Association in London. We've had Sport Australia. Like, it's just been absolute team effort with media organizations and athletes just seeing the value and really wanting to pitch in. So true women's sports fashion, this kind of collective effort and movement, which I think we just need to leverage more. And it's one of our unique superpowers.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree 100% with that. And I think too, the power of the internet and connecting groups, you know, like I don't know that being able to see one country excel in giving more equality in sports has really pushed other countries to kind of follow suit. So thankfully we're in a time where that is a helpful thing. I mean, I know you've played on the national team for New Zealand. You played college soccer here at William and Mary. So have you seen growth? And like, obviously there's so much still to do, but what especially for this World Cup are you excited about and still wish we were seeing?
Yeah, well, I think to your first point, you know, the power of technology and the likes of social media has been a complete game changer for women's sport. We no longer have those gatekeepers that, we'd have to try and fight to get women's sport on main broadcast channels, or, through media liaison offers to connect with athletes and not being given the time of day. So the technology we've seen, it's almost become a creator economy with the athletes. They're their own media companies now and can interact directly with fans. So, we don't have to go through kind of gatekept media teams. So I think that's really powerful in terms of building the connection with players, with women's sport, to actually grow women's sport. But also, again, too, we know, we've all been there when we didn't have our favorite women's sports broadcast on linear TV, and so frustrating. And us early adopters as fans, had to find our own little niches and ways to connect with women's sport on social media. We're tech savvy, so digitally led. So I think all these opportunities are really bringing the women's sports community together and linking in all these people who are fighting for the same thing. So I think it's a huge advantage, and we need to really supercharge that and tap into that more. But yeah, I'm totally pumped to be down here in New Zealand for the lead up to the Women's World Cup. I think, I would have personally liked to have seen a bit more start to happen already. We're only 3 months out, and I think the power of storytelling and, profiling the players is really key to get people on board. So by the time the tournament comes, people already have a connection, and it's not kind of, oh, it's all over before it's begun. I think, probably outside the States with women's football, most fans of the country probably can't name more than a few, if any, of their women's football team national players. And really do believe that kind of comes from having to build it over a longer period of time. I also would have hoped to have seen more around the commercial side. I know obviously we've all been across the controversial Visit Saudi drama that's unfolded over the last 6 weeks, which I spoke out quite vocally on with the misalignment. And, it was a big relief to not only sponsors, but the government bodies down here and us fans and players that's no longer on the table. But for me, it worries me that why that is just so far-fetched, that sponsorship alignment. And, FIFA was saying they were so baffled that there was so much backlash. And if they're baffled by that, it's really alarming, because anyone who knows anything about the women's football community would know that was just never going to go down well. It's a no-go area, and that just the missed opportunity around who they should be talking to. So two brands I've worked with, both Visa and Zero, they're the two global women's FIFA World Cup sponsors. And I think, they're genuinely believers in gender equality. They're moving the dial, they're agile, they want to support the game. And those are the brands we want on board. But why are there not more of them? And this is, 1 billion people are going to watch this event. It's the biggest women's sports event. I'm not sure how it's been sold or who they're talking to not have more sponsors on board at this late stage. So yeah, a bit of a lost opportunity, I see. But, of course, in other areas, we've got to celebrate the small wins, and, that movement of prize money towards more aligned with the Men's World Cup. We love to see that. But again, I think it's the power of this collective voice of the women's sports community, this constant conversation. We're forcing the likes of FIFA and organizations to have the player power, writing letters from FIFA Pro and everything like that. So, my big message to the community is, let's keep it up and let's unite more and be vocal, because it can have impact.
Yeah. I mean, I have my own experience in seeing and working with an organization that has a lot of lip service of, we treat men's and women's teams equally. But I know when someone came in just wanting to support the women's side, they were like, no, it's both or nothing. And so they were turning away money. It's just wild to me, that they say it, but then when push comes to shove, it's actually there's a whole nother step that needs to be taken. So yeah, oh my gosh, to be a fly on the wall in those FIFA conversations, right?
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think, look, we're moving in the right direction. And I think a lot of brands out there are going, oh, yep, we know women's sport's big, and it's an amazing platform to showcase our brand story and show we're supporters of gender equality and such. But like you say, I think when push comes to shove, putting money where your mouth is, and actually standing by those is a different story. But, I'm just hoping we can fast track that and, get show kind of the power and get more of, like I say, the right partners behind it
Yeah.
all.
Love it. Love it. I am curious, just as your, you know, life as a professional athlete, playing in school, now you're a founder, obviously passionate. I can see where the passion would come from as a player, but what do you think being a player and being involved in team sports has helped you as a founder? What do you think you can credit
Yeah.
to?
I mean, it's huge. No one can underestimate the power of sport to, give girls confidence, that whole working together, that drive, that motivation. I think there's that stat, is it 94% of C-suite execs in America have played sport, so it really is. And I just think about, my own experience and all those skills I developed, particularly around the confidence and everything like that. So, the more we can get girls and young women in and staying in sport, it's great for society across the board. I'm just working on a white paper at the moment with a coaching startup called Coachmate, and we're looking at specialized tips to keep girls and young women in the game, because by age 14, girls have dropped out at twice the rate as boys. And, you just think about that loss of potential, not only on the sports field and what that means for women's sports and the whole ecosystem, but just the future development of these young women in workplace, what it means to society as a whole. So I think there's still so much that there is to be done there. And like I said, it's changing, but we need to just put the foot on the pedal and fast track it more. And there's a whole variety of reasons for that, with lack of role models or outdated stereotypes, to lack of access, even as parents, this unconscious bias they have towards buying boys sports gear but not maybe their daughters, and just all the messages that sends to even the likes of what's doing the rounds at the moment, impractical male first lens products and white shorts that we're forced to play in. And just at the moment doing the rounds is, a lot of focus on ditching the white shorts. So the New Zealand Football Ferns just came out a couple of days ago, and for the World Cup, our national colours are white. The men's team's called the All Whites, and they've traded the white shorts for the navy. And just even the power of something small like that, it doesn't cost anything. It's a no-brainer, but the flow-on effects to send this message. And like I say, if it can just keep one more girl in the game. And from my own experience, again, as an athlete, when I debuted for New Zealand under-17s, I can't even remember who we were playing, but I remember this anxiety of worried about being on my period and bleeding all over my white shorts. So even that is my own experience as an athlete, what that's allowed me to bring now to sponsorship and marketing campaigns and social movements is, obviously, once you've lived that experience, is really powerful to translate that into action when, you can have a bit more, a bit older and have a bit more influence and capability to create change.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And it truly is like just, keeping more people in the game so that they can progress up a ladder and get the seats at the table where discussions about that kind of stuff happen. And it, I can see how, maybe no man ever thinks of that. But of course, that is something a woman thinks
Exactly, and
about every time they
it's
play.
harmless.
Yeah.
And like say, even I posted about this on my LinkedIn where I share a lot of thoughts on women's sport, and some of the men were like, "Oh my gosh, I've never thought of this." And of course, why would have they? But just the impact having a woman's voice or a woman's lens can have is huge. And even here in New Zealand, the Sport New Zealand, so they fund a lot of the sports bodies down here. And last year they had a requirement to have 40% women on boards by the end of last year. Otherwise, some of these sports organizations could lose funding cuts. So I think it was 59 out of 60 of the boards achieved that, which having women in those positions to influence at the top is just, again, I spoke about gatekeepers earlier on. And, whether it's unconscious or conscious, just those gatekeepers that maybe have been traditionally white stale pale male, at the top, and just not thinking about it from a woman's or a girl's lens or a person of color's lens. We just need to have that diverse representation to really help grow the game as a whole. So yeah, really proud of all those sports organizations. So call out New Zealand Rugby, who are the only one who didn't achieve that. So I really hope, as kind of New Zealand's global national sport, that they can get their act together and change that, because these kind of supposedly national bodies and sports and leading bodies should be leading the charge in the area.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Oh my gosh, I could probably talk for hours about this. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, we'll put so much information in our show notes. I got a couple of rapid fire questions and then we'll
Oh
tell folks
yeah,
how to get
okay.
in touch with
Don't
you.
make them too hard.
No, no, no. So first one, favorite sports movie.
Ooh, oh gosh, okay. I'm loving all the Netflix series at the moment. I think the power of F1 Drive to Survive is undeniable. That I'm not a motorsport fan, but now I could probably name 4, 5, 6 of the key stars. So yeah, let's do some more women kind of focused documentary series on Netflix, please.
Love that. Yeah, W series. Let's get a W series one.
Yeah.
Okay, favorite memory of playing a sport.
Oh, favorite memory. I think just all those moments as a team when you're kind of late teens, early 20s and going on tour, and just the bonds that you make and the experience of traveling to a different country. So yeah, when I think back, it's all those relationships and that connection. And again, that's women's sport. We know that fun and friendships are such a key pillar of women's sport, even more so than men. So for me, that just really reigns true.
Love that. What's your favorite place that you've ever played a match?
Ooh, favorite place that I've played. I'd have to go. I played a season in Denmark, and yeah, I love the ethos of the country. It's just so progressive. It's so equal. It's just the most fascinating place. If you ever get to visit Copenhagen, do it. It's such a fascinating society that I think so many more countries could learn from. And for me, just there's kind of no presumptions around men and women's roles. It's just the most equal society I've seen. So yeah, in terms of cultural experience, that was it for me.
Awesome. Love that. If you could be good and like really excel at a sport you've never played before, what sport would you
Ooh.
like to?
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to go. I'm far too short and not skilled enough, but to play in the WNBA, right? Right now with
Oh,
March Madness going on, to be a basketballer in the USA, like the ultimate, it's such a spectator sport. There's kind of a smaller arena, such entertainment, and the way the game's going in the States is just phenomenal to watch. So I'd love to, have my own sneaker range and be one of the stars like that we're seeing happen at the moment.
love that. Yeah, very cool. Okay, last one. I asked this one for everyone. If you could get tickets for life, free tickets for life for any sporting event, you get it every time it happens, whether it's every 4 years with the World Cup or every year with like a
Ooh.
national championship. What are you getting free tickets for?
Oh, these are good questions. I'm gonna have to go with the Grand Slam tennis. So it's probably been a bit broad, but for me, the Wimbledon, US Open, Australian Open. Again, I just think tennis. I used to play. It was, not my main sport. Soccer was, but in terms of again a spectator sport, it's just that arena, small feel. The drama that we've seen, and the women's sports legends, tennis legends that we've seen over the last decade have just been phenomenal. So tennis would definitely be up there for me.
Awesome. Okay, very cool. Well, thank you again for being here. Where can folks find you and find Team Heroine and correct the internet? All the links. Hit us up with them.
Yeah,
We'll put them in the
so
show notes.
awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So check out LinkedIn, Rebecca Sowden, if you're on that, and follow me there. I'm always like to provoke and have strong opinions on that, because I think again we need to, in order to move the dial quicker and fast track things with women's sport. But also you can check out teamheroine.com, a bit more about myself and what I'm up to. And most importantly, if you want to help correct the internet and give women's sports and sportswomen the visibility and the recognition they deserve, head to correcttheinternet.com and start get correcting.
Awesome. Well, we will put all those in the show notes. Thank you again so much for coming on the pod.
Definitely love chatting anytime.